So here we are once again. We are live, folks. Welcome to Friday Night Tech Talk. And if you're new here, we do this every Friday night. We take some articles about tech and we find what I think is interesting articles between last Friday and this Friday. We talk about it a little bit, especially in the comments. I have a couple of very faithful subscribers that keep the comments pretty active, and thank God for them. Like right now, Brian is in here, and he's been here a half an hour already. So he's one of the ones that keep the comments going, does some education to me, that's for sure. And here's Annette right on time. Hey, Annette, glad you're here. So Annette and Brian are two of my most faithful subscribers. So every Friday, I take the articles that I select to discuss and put them on my webpage for the show notes. So we'll go take a look at my web. Oh, and also, if you're new here, please type something in the comments. Let us know where you're from. And I will share screen and let you see the show notes for this week's show. Okay, before I do this, show notes is Elna. My three most faithful subscribers are all here. So Brian's here, Annette's here, Eleanor's here. Glad you're all here, as always. Okay, let me show you the show notes for tonight. And what I do is I find what I think are interesting articles, or if there's a big event that week, I will try to get an article about that, which I did this week. So if you go to mobilegeezer.wordpress.com, click on today's date, you'll get just the show notes for tonight. And well, today's date here, because there is people watching us in the Philippines, and it's already tomorrow morning there. So, but if you click on 11/1, you'll get tonight's show notes. And as I do every week, I will give you a preview while we're here of what we're going to talk about. So I just happened to find what I thought was a good article. I said, will Samsung rebrand? And I found it on Tom's Guide, and they're talking about Samsung thinking about either getting rid of the Galaxy name or maybe just putting it to certain parts, but we'll go over that on Tom's Guide. And I always try to put what I think is the big story for the week second to give people time to get in. To me, the big story for the week was yesterday, the OnePlus 13 was announced in China. Now, of course, I have the OnePlus 12. I don't have it today. On Fridays, I take two phones with me to work today. I happen to have the Nothing Phone 2 and my iPhone 15 Pro Max. I did have my OnePlus 12 with me all day yesterday at work. But I thought the OnePlus 12 was one of the best phones of 2024 and 2023, I should say, really. I picked the OnePlus Open as my phone of the year, but right behind it for me was the OnePlus 12. So a whole bunch of us are kind of excited about the OnePlus 13 coming out in China. Probably means we're going to see it released in the rest of the world, like in America, in December or January. We don't know yet. So that's on Phone Arena, because everybody had that article. So we'll go over that. And then 2 weeks ago, I told you how the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, had passed a click to cancel and was putting in a rule to make it easier to cancel subscriptions and that type of thing, but it doesn't go into effect for 6 months, for 180 days from when I told you about it. Well, guess who is fighting it? Cable companies, social networks, and others suing the FTC to stop. So they don't want you to be able to cancel easily. That's for sure. So I have that on the verge. I guess we all had to expect that. And the next one will be, I guess, months and months ago, we told you about T-Mobile US Cellular merger. T-Mobile basically taking over US Cellular, or most of it anyway. So they have a little update on that. And I just said T-Mobile acquisition of US Cellular still awaiting approval from the Federal Trade Commission. Then, if you know TSMC, they make what, 75% of all the what do you call it? Chips in the world. They are by far the biggest chip maker on earth. So they make chips for our cars, our phones, all kinds of stuff. And so they're in Taiwan, of course, they are the big company and they have a lot of clout. I said a Taiwanese golf course is defying the power of TSMC because they want to build this super futuristic plant for their new chips to make 2-nanometer chips. And this golf course is holding them up. So we'll go over that story. I just found that very interesting. And lastly, I found this article on Digital Trends. Will there be 2 Android updates next year? Normally we get 1 Android update a year like we did, was it last week or the week before, of Android 15? Well, there may be 2 next year. So I thought that was real interesting too. So those are the stories we're going to go over. Of course, if by some miracle Mike or Will join us, which isn't likely, but it happens every once in a while, I'll let you know. Now, we haven't seen Ted in here for, I don't know, 5 or 6 weeks, but if he happens to join, always makes the show better. I'll certainly let you guys know. So nothing new in the comments. We will start with the first story. And as usual, if it's just me, it'll probably be a fairly quick show. Last week, we finished in an hour. So we'll see how it goes today. So I said, will Samsung rebrand, getting away from the iconic Galaxy name? So let's go take a look at it on Tom's Guide. And the article came out 2 days ago. No more Galaxy. Samsung just tipped to rebrand its flagship phones. Written by Scott Junker. This could be a weird Galaxy S25 launch. So he's not sure if it's going to, we still think it's going to be Galaxy S25, but we'll see. So let's drop this into Reader View and get rid of some of these ads. Oh, and Brian is saying it's just a rename to bring hype. Well, I kind of see the point in the article. Tell me what you think as we go through the article, Brian. Okay, I'm dropping into Reader View. With stories of Samsung struggling against Apple, nothing new there, and the best iPhones in the US, as well as at home in Korea, so they're even struggling against Apple in Korea. We'll see the numbers for that. A new report claims that Samsung is looking to potentially rebrand away from the long-running Galaxy naming convention. The report from the Korean publication E-Today via tipster Jukan Losreve. Right? That's as good as I'm going to get it. That was on X. Claims that Samsung is exploring rebranding the company's flagship smartphones with a non-Galaxy name. This would be similar to how Hyundai sells its premium cars under the Genesis branding, or how Lexus is Toyota's luxury car brand. I think that's a bad analogy because, as we'll see in the next paragraph, they're talking about 1-to-1 in Hyundai and Toyota, where with Samsung, we're talking 4 or 5 different things here. So you'll see what I mean. It is both a surprising move and perhaps necessary as Samsung gears up to launch the Galaxy S25 and Galaxy S25 Ultra in January. Samsung has 5 lines of smartphones, not just one like up here. The Z, S, A, M, and F series under the Galaxy umbrella. So they're all called something Galaxy Z, Galaxy S. So that's why I'm tending to think maybe they will get it. There's too many, and their phones are way too different. Under the Galaxy umbrella with the Z and S reserved for the flagship devices. And this isn't mentioning all of the products under the Galaxy label, including the Tab S10 tablets, Buds 3 Pro earbuds, and I'm wearing a pair of their buds, the Watch 7, which I wore yesterday, smartwatches, and the brand new Galaxy Ring. I agree. It seems like there's just too many things named Galaxy. So that's why I'm leaning towards believing it. It appears this may have been a long percolating initiative with Samsung. Lee Young-hee, Samsung's head of global marketing, was quoted at CES 2024, so that was back in January. Galaxy has so many lineups that I know people are expecting a new name when there is an innovative turning point. Now, was that just hype back in January? I don't know. As the report points out, with a mix of high-end, mid-range, and budget devices under all the same umbrella, it can prevent the flagship devices from standing out. That's probably true, as apparently younger audiences consider Galaxy subpar. That surprised me. Compared to iPhones, when the first Galaxy devices they encounter are from some of the lower tier lines. And that makes sense because you can get a Galaxy F or Galaxy M. Well, that's going to be way cheaper than the S line. So that makes perfect sense. Samsung has been utilizing the iconic Galaxy branding since at least 2009. Yeah, the first one I ever bought was a Galaxy S3. When the company launched the Samsung Galaxy, which ran one of the first versions of Android. While Apple and Samsung are the two most popular brands for smartphones in the US, there isn't really competition. According to StatCounter, Apple has 57.3% of the market share in the US, with Samsung claiming 23.2%, so more than double for Apple, for a combined 80% of the phone market as of September 2024. So between the two of them, they have 80% of the entire US market. That's a lot. According to Eat Today, even in Samsung's home country of Korea, this surprised me too, among young people 18 to 29 years old, 64% said they use an iPhone, with that number leaping to 75% for women in their 20s. So even there, it looks like iPhone outsells Samsung, and that's their home country. Samsung is no stranger to being accused of copying Apple when it comes to new features on mainline S series phones, with flagging Z Fold 6 and Z Flip 6 sales, foldable devices that Apple doesn't even offer. Samsung executives even apologized earlier this month for not being more innovative via Android Police. I didn't know that. Rather than short-term solutions, we will secure fundamental competitiveness. Furthermore, I believe that only new technologies that do not exist in the world and perfect quality competitiveness are the only ways for Samsung Electronics to make a comeback, said Samsung's VP of Device Solutions, Yoon Young-hoon. It's unclear from the E! Today report how far along a potential rebranding is on Samsung's roadmap. So nobody else how far along. That's why I think it's still going to be the Galaxy S25, but we'll see. As an industry insider commented to the Korean publication, Samsung is also aware that a new brand name is needed. So there is a high possibility that a new brand will be launched. But of course, Brian could still be right about just being hype. It may be too late for next January's Galaxy S25 series to get the new branding, but a future S series or perhaps Z series device will likely see it. So it seems to me, yeah, we're going to probably get the S25s, but the very next phone that launches in any of those, will they break away? If it's an A, usually the A's come out pretty close afterwards or a few months. If they get away from the Galaxy, that's where you're going to see the difference. So I say look for the next phone release of any type from Samsung after the S25 is revealed. So that's just my guess. And of course, all this is nothing but speculation, but interesting speculation, I think. So, all right, nothing new in the comments. So, Brian, you can say I'm somewhat believing the story. but you could be 100% right. I don't know. All right, we're going to move down to the next story, which I think is, for me, the heavy hitter story for the week. The OnePlus 13 announced in China. So I took the phone article. Of course, everybody wrote an article about it. If I had more time, I would be writing more articles myself like I used to, but finding the time, not so easy anymore. So OnePlus 13 goes official in China with Snapdragon 8 Elite and a huge battery by Marian Slavov. And this came out, updated today. It came out yesterday, but it was updated today. Interestingly, I don't have it, but while I was reading some of the articles today, I always read the articles a lot more today when I'm working. And the parts when I'm sitting in the back of the van and being driven around to our next destination. But in any case, I ran across an article, or was it a video? I think it was an article that said they checked out the Snapdragon 8 Elite on the phone and they think it's a big mess. Maybe I'll put that in for next week. I did save the story. So, like I said, this was updated today. 3:22 this morning. So you kind of could say yesterday. So let's go into review, drop some of these ads out of here. After months of speculation and tons of official teasers from OnePlus, the next flagship of the company finally made its debut in China. The OnePlus 13 landed with some impressive specs. Everybody seems to be very impressed, some of which we already knew. And it's here to take on the big guys in the business when it launches globally. And that's what we're waiting for next. And if you guys want to check out the story, you can go check out the specs, but we'll see them, of course, as we read in the story. The fastest Qualcomm chipset in up to 24 gigabytes of RAM. That's a lot of RAM, but that's going to be the most expensive. OnePlus is generous with the memory configuration. 1 terabyte, 24 gigabytes of RAM. The OnePlus 13 boasts impressive hardware specs with the Snapdragon 8 Elite as the phone's beating heart. So everybody, saying, okay, this is going to be the latest hardware from Snapdragon and the latest chip. But, I thought everybody was all for this and raving about it. But like I say, I saw this one article that kind of thought it's a mess. So I guess we'll see. This chipset showed its face on numerous Geekbench leaks and threatens to overthrow the undisputed champion in mobile, the Apple A18. Well, we'll see about that. The OnePlus 13 is available with a crazy memory configuration as well, featuring 24 gigabytes of RAM and 1 terabyte of onboard storage, UFS 4.0. And the RAM was LPDDR5X. The base memory configuration, and this would be the one I'll get. I may trade in my OnePlus 12 to get it. We'll see. The base memory configuration starts at 12 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage. And, we expect the global one to have the same basic specs. And there are also variants with 16 gigabytes of RAM and 512 gigabytes of storage. So, of course, we start from there and then we go up all the way up to here. The company has also redesigned the cooling system, and the phone comes with a new vapor chamber with a 9925 millimeter tube surface to meet the heat dissipating demands of the new silicon and offers sustained performance under load. And it seems like a bunch of them are coming up with better cooling systems, which is great for all of us. There's a new vibration motor on board as well, one that uses an N54 neodymium, I said it right, I think, magnet, and has a total volume of 603 millimeter 3. So we expect strong and tight vibration, especially in gaming scenarios. And of course, having a good vibration motor is a very, very good thing. Of course, Hasselblad triple camera system. Well, we know that I have that on the OnePlus 12 and on my OnePlus Open. 3 the Hasselblad tuned cameras are nested in the circular camera bump. So it's kind of the same, just doesn't bleed all the way out to the edge like the 12 does. The OnePlus 13 continues the long-lasting partnership with Hasselblad. The phone features a triple camera system, and get this, they're all 50 megapixel, consisting of a 1.4 50 megapixel Sony LYT-808 primary sensor with OIS support, a 23 millimeter focal length, and an f1.6 aperture. Now that's one. Now we've got two more. The main camera is paired with a 50 megapixel Samsung JN5 ultra-wide sensor with 15 millimeter focal length equivalent and an aperture of f2.0 and a 1.195 50 megapixel Sony LYT-600. So that's one, that's two, the Samsung is the second, and the other Sony telephoto is the third. LYT-600 telephoto periscope camera system with OIS and f2.6 aperture and 3 times optical zoom or 73 millimeter focal length equivalent. So that's the first telephoto I've seen with a 50 megapixel. So I guess that's going to be pretty good too. I love the pictures that I get from my OnePlus 12, and you guys have seen some of the comparisons, and sometimes it beats the iPhone or the Pixel, and sometimes it doesn't. It's about 50-50, I think, and a lot of other people say the same. So these should be a little bit better, I think. The hardware is backed up by the same Hasselblad master imaging algorithms we first saw in the Oppo Find X8 series. Huge battery with cutting-edge tech on board, and it really is a huge battery. One of the key specs of the OnePlus 13 is the huge battery on board. Yeah, you're going to have a hard time killing this battery. It's a 6,000 milliamp cell, one of the largest we've seen in the flagship phone of this size and thinness. And it says one of the, I've never heard of another one that's much, but I guess they have. To be able to shrink the battery and fit it inside the phone, OnePlus has adopted the silicon carbon tech, where there's silicon crystal embedded in the carbon anode to expand the capacity. OnePlus calls this a glacier battery. In a typical OnePlus fashion, this battery is paired with the company's SuperVOOC fast charging, and boy, their charging is always way faster than everybody else, tech, and can take up to 100 watts of power, well, that's a lot, through a wire or 50 watt wireless. Display and design. Let's see. Oh, Brian says, loaded specs OnePlus. Yeah, this seems like it's going to be even better than the 12. And the 12 is wonderful. I love it. And so does everybody else that I know that has it. And then Brian says, where's Gary making fun of the excessive? Yeah, we haven't seen Gary much lately, but yeah, if he was here, he would certainly be making. Gary's nickname for OnePlus is Dumb Plus, by the way, you should know. So, okay, one of the first phones to feature an IP, get the 69 rating, so even more than 68. The OnePlus 13, that means you can spray right on it and it should be fine, but I don't know any other phone that's gotten an IP69 rating. The OnePlus 13 sports a 6.82-inch 2K 10-bit OLED display made by BOE. BOE seems like they make really good displays, and they seem to be the only one on the Android side that gives Samsung some competition. The good news is that the display looks almost flat, even though the company still markets it as a quad curved screen. So I think it's just curved at the edge. It's probably a little less than the OnePlus 12, which to me was great. This is an LTPO panel, and it's able to dynamically switch the refresh rate between 1 and 120 hertz. That's awesome. OnePlus boasts that this is the first display to receive an A++ rating from DisplayMate, setting 21 records in smartphone display tech as well. Good for them. The design of the OnePlus 13 follows in the footsteps of the previous flagships of the company. We have a glass and metal sandwich with a slightly curved back and front and a circular camera bump, slightly offset to the left. You can see it here. Now, on the 12, it kind of bleeds right over to the edge, not on this one, though. The iconic alert slider is also present on the chamfered aluminum frame, and there's an ultrasonic fingerprint under the display for biometrics. So ultrasonic fingerprint, I think that's the first one for them. So that's great to know. And their fingerprint was already good, but now it's going to probably be great. Color options, you can see, is it white maybe, blue, gray, black, something like that. Hopefully it'll tell us. OnePlus was able to make the phone lighter at 210 grams, and it's also pretty thin at just 8.5 millimeter. The phone comes in 3 color variants: white, obsidian. Okay, so there's white, obsidian, and blue. And the blue has a faux leather back. So, of course, that's the one that's the one we're all going to want. Last but not least, the OnePlus 13 is protected from the elements by some serious certification, namely IP68 and IP69. Now, of course, that's going to be the one everybody's going to want. But if I don't get it, and let's say it's back ordered by it, because I may not order it on day one, I may wait a month. Since I put a case on everything, I would probably get one of the other ones. The latter, IP69, the latter is a first in smartphone tech. You can learn more about the IP69 rating in smartphones here. But long story short, the 9 in 69 means the phone is protected from high pressure, hot temperature water immersion and water jet. So you can put it in front of a water jet, it should be just fine. Pricing and availability. The base 12 gigabyte 256, which would be the one I go for, OnePlus 13 model starts at 44.99 yuan in China, 631.99 after direct conversion. Now, of course, the OnePlus 12 base model, which is what I got, came at $800, which was well worth it. Some people are saying maybe they'll go $900. I'm hoping they stick with $800, because if it equates in the U.S. to $631, why wouldn't they stick with $800? That's just what I'm hoping. The 12 gigabyte 512 gigabyte variant costs 488.99 yuan, $688. 16 gigabyte 512, 52.99 yuan, $744. And the top 24 gigabyte 1 terabyte model will set Chinese citizens back 5,999 yuan, $842. So if those conversions are right, I would hope that the base model is still going to be 800. So, but we'll find out. Anyway, some pretty good specs. The cameras ought to be better. So, kind of exciting for all of us. When we'll see it, most people are saying maybe December, because this came out a little earlier in China than it did last year. A lot of people are suspecting January, just before the Samsung comes out. That would be my guess also. But we'll wait and see. So that, to me, was my big story of the week. So nothing else new. We'll continue down to my next story. Oh, okay. Brian, faithful as always. Thank you so very much, sir. As I said 2 weeks ago, we gave you the click to cancel, which everybody was so happy to hear that the FTC is making it easy for all of us to cancel subscriptions, get our gym memberships, all that stuff, and to make it easy. And I gave you that story. Well, of course, we should have expected everybody is going to fight it. I just said cable companies, social networks, and others suing the FTC to stop click to cancel. So this was on The Verge. She is the best chairman we've had in a long, long time. But of course, they hate her guts because she gets stuff done. Guess who's suing the FTC to stop click to cancel? And this came out a week ago. First chance I've had to bring it to you guys. The cable industry, home security companies, and advertisers. So all three different companies are suing to stop a rule making it easier to cancel subscriptions. None of us wanted easier subscription cancellation. So let's drop this. Oh, and it was by Wes Davis and Richard Lawler. So let's go into review. 3 industry groups, the NCTA, the Electronic Security Association, ESA, and the Interactive Advertising Bureau, IAB, are suing to prevent the Federal Trade Commission from enforcing its new click-to-cancel rule that requires companies to make it easy to cancel subscriptions. Now, of course, when we first got it, I said, too bad we had to wait 6 months. But of course, they did have to give them time to put the things in place that would make it easier. But of course, all it did is give them time to sue them. Their complaint, included below, alleges the rule is arbitrary, capricious. How can it be capricious? Because it helps us. And an abuse of discretion, as reported previously by Reuters. Under click to cancel, if you sign up online, and we went through all this then, you must be allowed to cancel online rather than needing to call a support line, write a letter, and some of them make you send a registered letter, all kinds of stuff, or show up in person. Most aspects of this expansion of the negative option rule will go into effect 180 days, 6 months from its entry into the Federal Register, assuming it isn't blocked. They're going to do everything they can to block it. And yes, the groups opposing it represent exactly the names you'd expect, with member companies who profit from subscriptions that are easy to start and harder to stop, almost impossible in some cases. The NCTA, Internet and Television Association, represents service providers like Comcast, Charter, and Cox, and entertainment studios like Disney, AMC, Paramount, and Warner Brothers Discovery. The IAB 700 members include almost any company connected to advertising, with Google, Netflix, Amazon, Meta, Vizio, and the NFL among its board members. So they're all against this. While the ESA covers home security giants like ADT. So you got some heavy hitters trying to stop this. Now, they're suing them. You would think we would win, the public, the FTC in this case, would win automatically because this actually does help the public. But look who's behind the suing. They have so much money, they could pay off anybody. That's my guess. The group's lawyers argue that the FTC is trying to regulate consumer contracts for all companies. Well, I think they should, in all industries and across all sectors of the economy. Good. By attempting to forbid businesses from making customers cancel services using a method that differs from how they signed up. So they don't want you to be able to quit the way you signed up. Recent Supreme Court decisions like overturning Chevron deference and a 2022 decision strengthening the major questions doctrine have stripped authority from regulators to tackle issues that legislators have yet to cover. Meanwhile, well-funded industries, and boy, aren't these industries well-funded, can roadblock consumer and environmental protections while lobbying and lawsuits like this. Now, The Verge is part of Vox Media, and Comcast is an investor. So at least they tell us that. Correction, an earlier version of this misstated the name of one of the industry groups. It is NCTA, Internet and Television Association, not Internet and Television. So I don't see what the difference is, but I don't think it matters. So all the big shot companies want to stop it from making it easier for us to cancel subscriptions. Gee, what a surprise. So I just thought you guys should know about that one. Okay, nothing else new in the comments. We will continue on. Let me get a little swig of my tea. I love my Lipton green tea. Okay, it's been months since we even mentioned the T-Mobile US Cellular, so this is just kind of an update because I ran into this article on Phone Arena. T-Mobile acquisition of US Cellular awaiting approval. So let's go check it out. Oh, wait a minute. Brian said, just boycott for a month. They will cave due to panic. Yeah, if we could get us all organized that way, but wouldn't that be nice? I agree with you completely, though, Brian. All right, on to Phone Arena. T-Mobile CEO delivers the latest update on the $4.4 billion purchase of most of U.S. Cellular. Oh, and I saw an article last week somewhere that I didn't put here that finds the current CEO kind of boring, and they were looking for the old days. Just interesting stuff, though. This was published last week by Alan Friedman. So let's go into review. Back in May of this year, T-Mobile agreed to acquire spectrum, customers, and network assets from U.S. Cellular, so they're getting most of it. The fifth largest wireless provider in the U.S. for $4.4 billion in cash and assumed debt. Let me see what Brian has. Oh, he's saying about the boycott. We don't all need to do it, just create a difference that is alarming. Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? Brian, organize it for us. That would be great. Okay. With this deal, T-Mobile can extend the superior Un-carrier value and experiences that we're famous for to millions of U.S. Cellular customers and deliver them low-price, value-packed plans and better connectivity on our best-in-class nationwide 5G network. Yeah, I wonder who said. T-Mobile CEO Mike Sievert said at the time the deal was announced. Wait a minute. We've got Ted in here. I agree, Ted. If we could get this organized, I'd be down for it. You and Brian should get together. Okay. Wish I could get you in here with me one of these days. All right. T-Mobile CEO Sievert says that U.S. cellular users will have better service and lower prices after the deal is approved. Gee, why would he say that? Isn't that everything they said about Sprint, the Sprint deal too? Not that I'm complaining. I'm a T-Mobile customer for 12 years now, I think. So T-Mobile CEO said that U.S. Cellular customers will have a better network experience once T-Mobile takes control of the airways. I wouldn't doubt it. Subscribers takes control of the airways, subscribers, and network gear it is buying from U.S. Cellular. The latter provides wireless services mostly to Americans living in rural areas of the country, which is why I've never run into them, because I've never lived in a really rural area. Besides experiencing better wireless service, Sievert says that U.S. Cellular customers will enjoy having to pay lower prices, let's hope, as they move over to T-Mobile's plans and services. Once the FCC approves the acquisition, U.S. Cellular stores such as this one in Middleton, Wisconsin, will be owned by T-Mobile. Since the deal has yet to receive the required thumbs up from the FCC regulatory agency, I said FTC earlier, I should have said FCC, Sievert still has to be careful what he says about the transaction in public forums. That's very true, I'm sure. We're very confident, but we have to keep our heads down, and go through the process and explain our case to all the parties involved. That's how they got the other deal done with Sprint. Took them, a year and a half, but they got it done. With the deal, T-Mobile will take over 30% of U.S. Cellular's spectrum, and I think T-Mobile already has more spectrum than anybody else in the country. The carrier's subscribers, located mostly in rural parts of the country, retail locations, and its network assets. The spectrum that T-Mobile is acquiring from U.S. Cellular includes low-band 600 megahertz, and that's what they started with. They were the first ones to have real 5G because of that. Airwaves that travel long distances but deliver slower data speeds. T-Mobile already uses 600 megahertz spectrum for its nationwide 5G service. The deal also includes a 700 megahertz low-band spectrum, 2.5 gigahertz mid-band airwaves, and 24 gigahertz millimeter wave. So, and I think it's been a while that T-Mobile has been the best coverage in 5G in the country. I guess that's probably hasn't changed. Acquiring Sprint's 2.5 gigahertz mid-band spectrum was the main reason, that's right, why T-Mobile purchased Sprint for $26.5 billion in the deal that closed in April 2020. This spectrum doesn't travel as far as low-band airwaves, but it does cover more ground than MM wave signals. Yeah, MM is much faster, but doesn't cover quite as well. The mid covers better than MM, but the slow 600 covers better than both. It is approximately 10 times faster than low band, but is not as fast as MM wave. These characteristics have earned the airwaves the title of Goldilocks spectrum. Hit a new all-time high, the shares. AT&T and Verizon started building out their respective 5G services with MM wave. Yeah, and they pretty much failed at this to take advantage of the faster download speeds. However, they failed to take the limited range of high-band signals into consideration and watched as T-Mobile's decision to build out its 5G service using mid-band spectrum helped it become the early 5G leader in the U.S. That's true. AT&T and Verizon eventually came to the conclusion that they made a mistake and spent $68 billion between the two of them to win mid-band spectrum. That's right, I remember in that auction, in an FCC auction. And if you remember back, 3 years ago? 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I guess now, I kept saying that the whole MM wave thing was going to fail, and I gather it did. It just can't penetrate anything. Going back then, they were doing tests. I remember MKBHD, he did some testing and his body stopped. It wouldn't even go through his body in some cases. So I never thought it was going to work. Even though MM wave spectrum is not used much by T-Mobile, the deal with US Cellular includes some 24 gigahertz MM wave spectrum that T-Mobile can employ when needed. Yeah, I'm sure if you have it as a backup, that's probably the best way to use it. After hitting an all-new all-time high earlier in the day at $234.56, sellers are making Mike Sievert sad as T-Mobile shares have reversed and are now down. Okay. 746 on the day, or 3.19% to 226. So it went from 234 to 226. The stock is still up 65% for 2024 to date. So nothing to complain about there. There have been many complaints from T-Mobile subscribers that the carrier has shifted its focus from subscribers to stockholders. I have seen no effect. I don't think Eleanor has either. So we both have T-Mobile. So just kind of an update that they're just still waiting. Okay. Let's see. Brian, I was asking, is Ted is getting the OnePlus 13? I don't think Ted answered him yet. Also, Brian says, I'm curious because it says you're a pro photographer. What smartphone camera is your preference? Hopefully Ted will answer that if he sees it. Are there any devices with dual antennas? Don't know. Anyway, I hope Ted comes back and answers. We'll see. You never know he's out in Dallas and probably just gotten dark there too, though. I was thinking it might still be light, but probably not now. Because it's 8:44 here, so it's 7:44 in Dallas. All right, we will continue on. Okay, I just thought this was an interesting story with the biggest chip maker on earth being held up by this golf course. I just said a Taiwanese golf course is defying the power of TSMC. I found this on Tom's Hardware. TSMC is in a heated tussle with a golf course. Who do you think is going to win that? To build the most advanced 2 nanometer chip plant on the planet, and they're being held up from that by a golf course. And keep in mind, these foundries are extremely expensive, billions to make. So if they're ready to go, I'll bet you they're going to get them out of the way. This is by Joey Morales, published 2 days ago. Or Joey, could be could be Joey Morales. The Central Taiwan Science Park, I guess they're the government agency in charge of this stuff, has issued an ultimatum to the golf club. Resolve your issues by December 15th or face compulsory acquisition. You may end up getting nothing. So let's drop it into reader view. Yeah, you're talking about Taiwan's probably most successful business in the entire country. The Central Taiwan Science Park in Taichung, Taiwan, is pushing forward with its second phase expansion, which will house TSMC's most advanced fab yet. CTSP said that over 95% of the land required for expansion has already been agreed for purchase, including the Singnon golf course, and that's the one who's in the way. It's their members that are doing this. But according to United Daily News, the golf course's club members are blocking the acquisition because they demand a buyback price for each gold certificate of 1.8 million, that's in new Taiwan dollars, approximately $56,000 US. So I didn't get that when I first read it, but as we go through, you'll see each one of these members has these certificates that's part of their membership, I guess, that they pay for, and they want money before they agree to the sale. They could end up getting, losing out completely, but we'll see. This amount is based on 80% of the average NT 2.2 million price of one golf share for a course based in central Taiwan over the past 2 years. Given that the Singnon Golf Course issued 1,750 certificates, so they each want money. They each want this amount for those certificates, I think. That amounts to a total of 3.15 billion, or in US 98.5 million. The current average price, this must be some very rich people at this golf course. The current average price of a single golf certificate in central Taiwan has already exceeded NT 3 million, around US $94,000. Nevertheless, the Singnon Golf Course expects to net, now get this, between 15 and 20 billion, or in the US, 470 to 626 million from the sale. So even if they give in to these members, they're still going to make this much money, even if they're paying the members asking price. So this must be some golf club. Despite getting a bargain, it seems that the Singnon Golf Course has been avoiding coordinating with its members. I wonder why. Thus, they are considering filing lawsuits and mounting a protest. I'm betting somebody is paying off the golf course to do this, because they're not even, talking with their members. This news has led to CTSP's concern that its land acquisition plans would be jeopardized by years of lawsuits and countersuits. And of course, they're not going to like that when they've already got 95% of the deal done. So it issues a final ultimatum to the golf course owners. Resolve the issue with its members by December 15th or face compulsory acquisition, likely through eminent domain. In other words, you may not get a dime, and they just may take it. I think the members better make the deal pretty quick. If all goes to plan, the CTSP administration expects to complete all land acquisition for its second phase by the end of 2024. I don't think you're going to hold these people up. It will then hand over a large parcel to TSMC, so they're not getting all of that land, but probably most of it, in the first quarter of 2025, so that it can start construction on its most advanced fab ever, Can you imagine what that must cost? Which will produce 2-nanometer chips. I don't think anybody else produces 2-nanometer chips. While we don't know yet who TSMC's potential customers for 2-nanometer chips are, I think these are going to be the first ones in the world. We should note that OpenAI has recently abandoned plans to build its own factories and is relying on Broadcom and TSMC to make chips for it. And even as TSMC's U.S. fabs, and they're building 2 here, I think, starting production and could even hit higher yield than comparable Taiwanese fabs. So the new factories would probably be more efficient than the ones over in Taiwan. It seems that the company wants to see the latest and greatest technologies at home. So it's going to be interesting to see when these members of this golf course cave, because if they don't cave by December 15th, they're probably just going to get it taken away and a thing they can do about it. So I just thought that was an interesting story. Back to the comments. Brian had asked, are there any devices with dual antennas? Ted said the Xperia 1.5. Runner-up, the Xiaomi 13S. I knew about the Xperia only because Ted has told me about it before. I didn't know about the Xiaomi. And Brian said, thanks. Any specific reasons? Interface, color science, manual controls, I assume is a big reason. Yeah, totally, as a photographer. So, all right, I've got one more story. Let me get one more swig from my tea. Again, just an interesting story that I found on Digital Trends. Now you come in when I'm about to do the last story.
I was down there for a bit.
You just were there. So now, so this Xiaomi 13S is as good as the Xperia
If we're looking
from a photography point of view, I guess.
The photography, I would say definitely the photography. It's better. I would say.
Really?
Has a Type 1 sensor.
Okay, and I know you've talked about that before.
Yeah, and then they partnered with Leica to supply optics and color science.
Okay. Now, I know the Xperia is pretty expensive. How much is the Xiaomi?
I think you can get the 1 Mark IV for I think maybe $1,300 now.
For the Xperia?
Right. There's a new one, the Xperia 1 Mark V. That I think maybe 5 is a good one. They switched to only 2 sensors, and I'm like, I wasn't liking that. Let me double check.
Okay.
But the Xperia is also not cheap. It's like the same price. Okay, no. Okay, let me put it in the chat. Sorry, Brian. It's the Xperia. That one is still like $1,300 though.
Okay. Now you're putting in the regular chat, right?
Yeah. Xperia 1 Mark V.
Oh,
not the 4. Don't get the 4, Brian. Get the 5. There's a new one.
Okay, Xperia 1.5, Brian. Okay.
Yeah, there's a 6, but the 6 loses features. But yeah, in terms of reasons, like the Xperia 1 Mark V has good camera controls, pretty much like the best manual controls and options for different types of video, especially if you want to do video.
Okay.
And I do like the color from the Sony, but then and then runner up for the Xiaomi 13S. I think that's been good too. There's a newer model, but that one again, a fantastic sensor. It's also very fast. She's very nice in bokeh. So yeah.
Now, right now, you have which Xperia do you have?
I have none.
Oh, I thought you had one.
I do have one. Yeah, the Xperia Z.
I know he's got it. He doesn't know he's got it. Okay. Have you ever had the Xiaomi though?
No, no, I haven't. I just see Juan always posting pictures from his Juan and another person in their Discord, and the
Okay,
photos is amazing.
but I would assume it's going to be a better price than the Xperia. Am I wrong?
It's not a cheap phone. I mean, no, it's not. It's an ultra premium
Okay,
phone. There's
okay,
not
yeah, well, that's true.
iPhone sensors.
You know what it is in my head? I always think of the Sony Xperia as the top, as very very expensive. You know.
But I mean, it should be the 5 should be cheaper now that the 6 is around. So you could maybe
Yeah,
find
you would think.
bucks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Um. All right. I'm down to my last story. You want to read the story about the Android 16?
Android 16.
That's the last story in there. And I just said, will there be 2 Android 16 updates last year? All right. I'm going to pull it up,
If I had
and you let me know when
recommend one,
you ready.
yeah, I wouldn't recommend the
Okay.
list, but
All right. Whenever you're ready, go ahead. I'm dropping it into read of you now.
all right. Android 15 just arrived for Pixel devices earlier this month, while other gadgets wait their turn. Might seem a bit early to start getting information about Android 16, but trusted analysis and source Michelle Raman says that not only will the operating system see an update much earlier than expected, but that Google is actually pushing out 2 updates in 2025. To understand why this is such a big deal, you need to first understand the Android release cycle. Once per year, Google comes out with a new Android update. This year is Android 15, next year will be Android 16. Users also get small updates throughout the year called quarterly platform releases. An educated guess would be that Android 16 An educated guess will put the Android 16 release in the later half of the year, but according to the Android Authority, the biggest update will happen sometime in Q2 of 2025. That's month ahead of the expected schedule, but allows Google to release a second update in Q4 with new APIs. While we aren't sure what the update will contain, Google says the update won't require developers to rebuild their apps and support isn't required. In other words,
Now that's pretty unusual. They're saying that it's going to be a bigger release, but they're not going to change anything that will affect the developers. That's very unusual.
In other words, the update won't affect apps in significant ways, so you don't have to worry about your favorite game suddenly crashing just because Android just received an update. The report makes it clear that despite the change in schedule for 2025, it isn't a guarantee that there will be 2 Android releases per year after this, according to Raman. Google told me that the future timing after 2025 will depend on its internal roadmaps. This odd release schedule could be a fluke or it could be a sign of things to come. It's too soon to tell, but knowing what that Google is dropping Android 16 so much early in the year is a cause for excitement for Android fans.
So we're talking. Not only are we talking unusual, they could come out with dropping 2 things in 1 year and then go back to one the following year. So that's pretty strange.
Yeah. Well, got it.
Like I said, I just thought it was an interesting story. Certainly not one you're going to hear every day. So I stopped sharing screen. So what else is new with you? It's been a while since we've seen you. You've been busy with photography stuff or what?
Sure have. Yep.
Good. Now that it's getting darker, is that running out or?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I started using my second camera more.
I was just about to ask you because I've asked you like 2 times in a row and you weren't the last 2 times I asked you. And do you love one more than the other now, or are you still loving both?
No. I definitely like the small one. Definitely love the small one.
Now the small one tell us the name again.
The big one, the small one, the X106. the big one is the XH2S. Um, I was actually this close to trading out to downgrading my XH2S. Like, if
Okay.
anyone has an XT5, so my camera, the one I use, I don't like so much, is a $2,500 camera.
Right.
But if someone has the downgraded version, the XT5, which is 1700, I will cleanly exchange it.
Well,
Cleanly.
have you been shopping around?
Yeah. I thought met a guy at a camera store. He seemed keen on it, but he didn't have the camera I wanted.
Okay.
And I was this close. One other camera I've been thinking about getting is the Osmo Pocket 3.
Okay.
And he had that. So, but then he came up to me and was like, all right, we can cleanly trade for this Osmo Pocket 3 for my XH2S. The
Okay.
Osmo Pocket 3 is like a $700 camera.
Oh yeah, that's not a fair trade.
And I just got offended. I was like, yeah, they let
Yeah,
me.
I don't blame you.
Like, and I was just like, ugh. That's where people that work at camera stores, they're low key pawnbrokers.
Now, is this a famous camera store? What's the big one?
Guys, it's a local. Yeah, it's a famous one, Garland Camera.
Okay. What's the big nationwide one?
It's a local brand.
Huh?
It's not a national brand. It's a local brand.
Yeah. What's the famous national brand I'm trying to think of?
There's B&H.
B&H. That's what I'm thinking of. Okay. Yeah. Now, I've been into B&H in Atlanta once, and many years ago. I don't even remember why. I was in B&H in New York City, which is where it started.
Yeah, I didn't know there was one in Atlanta.
Yeah. For me, it's about a 2-hour drive from here. Yeah.
I'm reading this article. Apparently, the same author of the last article we read. Apparently, he put out an article. Motorola is getting some updates. Trying to see if my Think phone is here.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It doesn't look
I
like
haven't seen it because the only motor phone I have left now is the Nord from last year, not even this year's.
All right, let me see. A Think phone by Motorola. Okay, well, that's scheduled to get it. All right.
Tech Odyssey has the Think phone, and he has raved about it all year long.
It's good. It's a good phone. The camera sucks.
Okay.
It's a good phone.
Okay. Yeah, he loves that phone. I know that. I think he's hinting that he may pick it as his phone of the year.
That is crazy.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a good phone, and especially at the price I got it, was like almost like $370 on Amazon.
Okay.
Amazon. What was that?
Yeah, it's been out for a while, right?
But I'll see if I had to do it. If I had to do it all over again, I would have paid double and just got the OnePlus.
Okay. Yeah. I love my OnePlus 12 and I love my OnePlus Open. So like yesterday I used the OnePlus 12. The day before I used the OnePlus Open, and the day before that.
But let me not downplay this little the Think phone. It's actually really good. It tries.
Okay. It tries. Okay. I guess that's a compliment from a photographer, right?
Well, I was really just talking about the whole thing except the cameras.
Except the cameras. Okay. Cameras are not great.
Yeah, cameras are not great.
Well, Moto's cameras are never great. I mean, that's just Moto, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why now Mike, of course, he loves his Moto, and he puts the pictures up, and he seems to love them. And I'm like, well, it's only a Moto camera, and you can see that it's only to me,
Like the only time I'm ever. Yep, Brian is right. It's good as a phone. Good as a phone.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Yeah, if you have to use a camera bit, like I'm only ever really happy with it if I'm just shooting flowers.
Okay. Okay.
Great for flowers.
Okay. Well, my.
What? Anything excited on your end?
Huh?
Anything excited on your end? Like, what have I missed?
No, nothing exciting. Yeah, you haven't missed anything. What was my last phone? My last phone was the Pixel 9 Pro, and I'm still, taking stuff with that here and there, and I'll be doing more comparisons with it. But for me now, it's working 3 days a week in enterprise, and then doing what I do for the channel, and my exercise. That takes up all my time. So time is tight these days.
Okay.
But I'm enjoying myself, and I'm starting to push 80 pretty hard, and I'm very blessed to be as healthy as I am. And I was talking to one of the younger guys today, and he was saying I had said that I could never work in some of the offices of enterprise the way I've seen customers come in and insult them. And he said he had one of his friends in one of the other branches. A customer came in and spit on the guy. And he said they would have had to fire me. I said I would have put the guy in a hospital.
No,
I could never deal with people like that. And I have an even harder time watching people abuse people. So I can't watch people abuse people. That's when I want to step in and get physical. That's just how I am.
yeah, customer service is just still post pandemic has just still become.
Well, in enterprise and in the branches, they will put up with almost anything. I mean, I've seen those people put up with crap that I wouldn't put up with for 1 second. But I got to give them credit. They're better than me,
Sounds like your enterprise needs some Waffle House employees.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've heard some of the stories. Yeah. And it's funny because whenever I think of the Waffle House, I think of this place I love to go to once in a while just because their pancakes and waffles are so wonderful, But yeah, I have seen the stories about some of their employees. You probably don't want to mess with those people,
Yeah, they give as good as they get.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, which is I think is a good thing. I just don't like I can't watch people abuse people. I don't like people who abuse people. Now, talking wise, you can abuse me all day. If you need to get that out, I don't mind you getting that out on me. But if you're going to start spitting on me, then you've crossed the line. The Jersey guy comes out in full blown then. And the sad part is, even at my age, I can still back up the Jersey guy attitude. Anyway, I'm so glad you came in. So now this I'm only asking. You don't have to commit. But now that it's starting to get darker, will we be seeing more of you? I hope.
Daylight savings time. Let me check.
That ends Saturday. I mean Sunday.
Let me check my calendar.
Okay, yeah. Daylight savings time is done on Sunday morning.
Friday. Ooh, that's my birthday weekend.
Oh, when's your birthday?
November 9th.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm getting certified, emergency certified.
So your birthday is on Saturday, though.
Right.
Okay.
But I have to prepare because I'm getting emergency certified. So I have to prepare for it the day before.
What do you mean emergency certified?
Like cert. I'm getting certed.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Maybe your town does it too. Like community emergency response training.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Matter of fact, Eleanor and I took that with the motorcycle club in Orlando maybe 20 years ago now.
Okay.
But we all got the certification at the same day. Yeah.
Okay. Well, no, that's what I'm getting.
Okay. Very good. I think that's pretty nice of you. See, all you're doing is bolstering your image in my head as Mr. Wonderful Nice Guy. So that's not good.
Exactly. Like, what is it actually about? Like the emergencies they train you for?
Well, basically, now this goes back 20 years in Orlando, but it probably hasn't changed. But basically, they're just making sure you know how to pump a heart right, how to pump how to do the squeeze to get the food out if they're choking on something. That was basically it. The main thing was getting the person down on the ground and getting them to pump right. Oh, and doing the breathing in their mouth and then letting them and pump and then breathing in their mouth and that kind of thing.
Okay.
And they use dolls for that.
Yeah, it's for me it's like a 3-day thing, and
Okay, yeah. Ours was just a 1 day thing, and we were done in probably 3 hours.
oh, okay, mine's a 3-day thing.
And of course, they were training about 15 of us at a time because we did this as a motorcycle club together.
Okay, and they want us to like on the final day for like our exam because there's an exam too. They want us to bring a volunteer to act like to serve as an actor or emergency.
Okay, so yours is much more serious than ours was, and of course, maybe there's different levels of us, and we took the lowest level. I don't know.
Yeah, mine is paid for by the city, so it's not like it's not really like a
Okay.
regular thing.
Yeah, ours, I don't think we paid for it, but I think one of the members of the motorcycle club in Orlando was, an emergency tech and got it set up for all of us.
Okay.
So we
Oh,
probably just got the essentials.
okay. Oh boy. Some part of me is regretting I signed for it on my birthday.
So it's on Saturday itself.
Yep. It's gonna be from
But
8 to
just think how good you'll feel about yourself. Brian says, "Happy early birthday, Ted!" In case we don't see you on stream.
12. Thanks, Brian. But
Yeah, you should just include us as part of your birthday.
if I can make it though the day before, if I finish all my
Yeah.
prep, I will stop by.
We'll take it if we can get it. Anyway, if we don't, we hope you have a very blessed birthday and you learn how to save people's lives. That's a very good thing to do on your birthday.
Hopefully it doesn't have to come to that. Hopefully I'm listening come quick. 7 minutes. We're in a city. Our 7 minutes response time in an emergency.
Okay, cool. And that's anywhere in Dallas?
Yeah.
That's pretty good because Dallas is a pretty big area.
I'm just talking about Dallas.
Okay, not DFW.
Not
Okay, yeah.
not DFW.
Okay, yeah.
Because there's like so many hospitals.
Yeah, but I know once you go, what's the town right outside as you're going towards the airport? It's very close to the airport. Starts with a B or an H.
Hearst?
Hearst, yes. Yeah. I know as you go out through Hearst, that's before you even get to Fort Worth, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that's a huge area. I can see why you're only covering Dallas.
Yeah, I'm only vouching for Dallas, like for the 7 minutes thing.
Okay. Yeah, I've spent a couple of nights in Hearst, only because when they had the last, I guess, Android barbecue.
Yeah.
That's when I was in Hearst. That's
Oh.
where I met Jerry from Android Authority, from my Android Central.
I'm not sure if they would, I don't know.
That
if
was
they'll
back in 2015.
I don't know if there'll be another one.
And then 2 years later, 2 years later, I was lucky enough to meet you. No, 3 years later, because you and I met in 2018, right? In
Right.
Vegas.
Yeah, in Vegas. I
Yeah.
thought you were down for ZTE.
Yeah, but that was my second year that ZTE took me out there. They put me out there in 2017 also.
Yeah. So, okay.
And Jay will too. Oh, matter of fact, see this hat?
Yep.
It was raining today. I don't wear my really nice hats on a rainy day when I'm going to work, but Jay Will gave me this hat.
And it's water repellent.
Yeah, no, it's just I just don't like messing up my fancier hats. But he and his family were passing through town on their vacation, and he stopped and had dinner with us, and he brought me this hat,
Oh, that's cool.
which I thought was very nice.
That is a
And you can see a couple of his old, about 3-year-old videos. You can see he's wearing the exact same hat for himself too, because he lives in Austin. He is a Texan also, even though he's a Jersey guy.
Okay. I did not know he was from Jersey.
Yeah, he's in Austin, and he's got He's a real car guy. He's got a car channel, and I think he's got two
I do remember
um,
our channel.
challenges. No, not challenges. What's the other one? That looks like a challenger. Anyway, he's got two of those, and he's got a Tesla, and he's got something else. The man's got some cars and trucks. I think it's a truck that he has too.
Let's see.
But yeah, he and his wife both have very fast cars, and he's been making some a bunch of videos about his Tesla stuff too. And I don't think he has the Cybertruck yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if he got one.
There's a Corvette E-Ray Model Y. He went to the Cybertruck event. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I knew that because he made a video about it. Yeah, but I don't remember seeing him drive one. Have you heard of the Aptera electric car? Aptera, Aptera.
What's that? No.
It's an electric car. It's not out yet. I think it's going to be out very soon now. One wheel in back, two wheels in front. From what I know right now, if I were going to buy an electric car, that's the one I would buy. Oh, and they also have one totally solar powered.
Oh, it's totally solar powered.
They have, I think, 3 models. One model is completely solar powered, and the starting price is like $25,000, and I think you don't have to go above 26 or 7 to get the totally solar price. So if I were going to get an electric car right now, that's what I would get.
Well, it's interesting.
Yeah, I've watched, as you can tell, I've watched a bunch of videos on it, and I'm pretty impressed, especially with the price. But keep in mind, I have my 2016 Mini Countryman, which I dearly love, and I'll probably drive that thing until it drops dead. But would you believe that I had my Porsche 944 back in the 80s, and I liked this Mini Countryman even more than that? I dearly love this car. And of course, it's got the turbo, and it's like a rocket ship if you want it to be. The coincidental thing, I now have a car that tops out at 160 miles an hour, and I have a motorcycle that tops out at 160 miles an hour also.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank God I don't speed. I gave up speeding back in the 80s, so I don't worry about it. But if I want that kind of speed in either one, I have it. But every time I, it's like any other turbo car. When that car gets to 35, I gotta watch it because it really wants to take off.
This is really interesting. This Aptera. It does look interesting.
Look at some of the videos. I'm pretty impressed with it. And when I heard about the solar one, I'm like, well, how good can that be? Well, they've impressed me enough that if I were going to buy one, I'd probably buy the solar version of that car. So I wouldn't have to worry about, charging again for.
There was I was always interested in a Rivian. But then
but Rivian seemed like they're slowly going broke.
I wouldn't be surprised. I just saw a Jerry Rig video.
Yeah, he bought a Rivian right off the bat. I remember that. Yeah,
changing one tire, $1,700.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I can't afford that maintenance. That's BMW maintenance. I can't afford that.
Exactly. Well, I just had the now keep in mind my Mini is a 2016, but of course it's made by BMW, right?
Oh,
I just had my left headlight go out because it's an older car, and I looked up how much the entire fixture for the headlight would cost me. $400 and something. Thank God it was only a bulb, and the bulb cost $139. But that's a lot better than $400 something.
But yep, that is the price of BMW lights, $400.
Exactly. Yeah. So,
Tail
but
lights.
I dearly love that car. You know, it's strange to have an automatic that has paddle shifters. And if I use the paddle shifters, boy, will that thing get up and go. I just used them once just to see. And I got up to about 40, and then I hit the paddle shift. It pulled me, and I mean, it pushed me back in my seat.
Yeah, I've had the only car I've ever driven with paddle shifters was a Chevrolet. It was a Durango SRT.
Okay, yeah. Now, occasionally at Enterprise, I'll get in one that has paddle shifters. I never use them. But yeah, this is the only car I've ever owned that had paddle shifters. So. And of course, my favorite sport being Formula One. Of course, I love any car with paddle shifters. Anyway, I should let you get off, and I should get off.
Other cars with the gear shift with the third.
Oh, how's your bicycle? How's your bicycle doing? Okay.
It's been doing all right. My friend got in a wreck, so I've been.
The girl, the female.
Yeah.
How bad?
Her car's totaled. So co-workers. I've been like carpooling over the weekend, like this past month.
Oh, okay.
So I haven't been able to take my bike out much.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, that's where you got to take it out on the weekend just for a ride, you know.
So it's gonna rain.
Like I do with the motorcycle. I try to take the motorcycle out about once a week just to make sure I ride it. You know.
So far, yeah, the bike has been holding up well. I did have to change a tire, but
again.
Yeah. Then I got like a $20 tire, and that wasn't good enough. So
okay.
I had to like change or replace it. But my bike repair guy found a good deal on these great used tires, Boat Rangers. So
yeah, okay, good.
The ones
Boat Ranger is good. Those are very good tires. That's what I have on one of my bikes.
Okay, I should have got those. Like I picked up what was it, Continentals, and yeah, they didn't last long.
I didn't even know Continental made bicycle tires.
But I know Boat Ranger is a good brand.
Yeah, but they specialize in bicycle tires. So
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna let you go.
No, right.
I'm so glad you were here and glad you got on the stream, and try to come in earlier next time. But we are still hoping to see you next Friday.
Yes, I'll come in.
Other than that, you have a great birthday, and then we're going to start expecting to see you more often. Is that reasonable?
Just because the sun is going down sooner doesn't mean that I have to come up home sooner.
When the sun goes down sooner, that means you have to sit down sooner in front of the camera with us. That's what that means. Anyway, I'm glad you were here. All right, folks, we're going to hang it up and say goodnight. Brian, thanks for being there as always. And I said at the beginning, Brian does some of the best stuff in the comments and even teaches me a bunch of stuff. And who did the best in the comments tonight? Of course, it was Brian.
Yeah.
Proving my point. It's nice to have subscribers that you can learn stuff from too, which is great.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I'm going to end it up, and I will see you next week. Hopefully, we will see you next week. We'll see how that goes. So you guys have a very blessed weekend, and we'll see you next week. Let's keep in mind we all do better when we love each other.